Hi, I'm Teal. I'm a yoga instructor, stretch therapist, wellness coach, Ayurvedic wellness educator. Always a mouthful to say. And I talk about all things yoga, trauma, and relationships. I now dedicate my life to helping people heal emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I share everything that I've learned over these last 6 years during my own healing journey because I now dedicate my life to helping people heal so that you can be the true you. Today, I want to talk about CPTSD and what you can do to heal from it because whew, it is a doozy. So, what is CPTSD? Well, CPTSD is what they call complex post traumatic stress disorder. It's different than PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, because it's not just one event, it's multiple events. And a lot of times, these are events that could have happened in childhood. So, it's very layered, very dynamic. It's hard to pinpoint just like one thing that happened in someone's life that you can then focus on to heal. No, it's a lot of different things. And it basically, how I like to think of it is like it's this like giant ball of yarn and you don't even know where to start. You're like, okay, what thread do I need to pull to start to unravel everything to get these knots out? That's what CPTSD is like for me. It's not just one knot, it's like a million knots and you're trying to figure out where to start. Well, first, I want to talk a little bit about what happens in terms of attachment and relationship when you have CPTSD. I'm not a big fan of the attachment styles because I think they're very dynamic. They definitely change. I don't think one person's just one thing, but it is helpful to think of it like this. So, the simplest way that I like to think of attachment styles is this: anxious attachment is I don't trust myself, but I trust other people. Avoidant is I don't trust other people, but I trust myself. And then disorganized attachment or fearful avoidant attachment, which is what a lot of people with CPTSD have, is I don't trust myself. I definitely don't trust other people. And that can be really difficult to feel. You find yourself craving intimacy, but being terrified of it. You find yourself getting close to people and then being so freaked out that you're pulling away, even though what you deeply want is that connection. You crave connection, but you're scared. That's a really painful and uncomfortable place to live, right? And if you're like me and have experienced that, you don't want to feel that way. I know I definitely didn't. I didn't want to feel like that. I still don't. I want to have secure connection. So if you're like me, you're like, I want to have secure connection. I want to have healthy relationships with myself and with other people. And when we learn to do both of those things, we learn what they call interdependence and we end up having a really happy and successful life. But here's the thing: when you don't trust other people, you don't trust yourself. Where do you start? Recently, in my new training that I'm doing for a new program called TRE and Neurogenic Yoga, we were discussing the importance of co regulation. And this is when everything really clicked for me. We were talking about how, in order to self regulate, you have to experience safe co regulation first. A lot of people learn this when they're children, they learn this with their caregivers or their parents. They have a caregiver, hopefully, who is regulated, who knows how to handle their emotions, knows how to stay calm, has a really strong window, a large window of emotional capacity and tolerance. And they're able to calm themselves down, regulate, and not stay in a chaotic state. People who have CPTSD typically grew up in chaotic households or had a lot of chaos in their lives. So they're regulated for chaos. They don't know what it feels like to feel regulated in the body. And so the first thing that they recommend is to find someone to safely co regulate with. Because how can you understand what something feels like in the body if you've never experienced it before or you haven't experienced it enough to be able to do it yourself? Well, the first way to do that, like I said, is to find someone to safely co regulate with. This looks like a therapist or a coach, maybe a sponsor if you're in 12 steps, or having a close friend or family member that has done the work, that has gone through therapy, that is a safe person for you to turn to, that you can start to trust. And it's going to take time. This isn't something you just want to immediately jump into. You don't want to have codependency here, but you want to allow them to show you that they're safe first. And you start to build this relationship in little bits and you start to borrow the regulation. So there's someone that knows how to handle the big emotions, right? So they've already expanded their emotional capacity. So they're like, okay, cool. I feel safe holding all emotions. I can feel extreme joy. I can feel extreme sadness or anger, right? They're not worried about it. They're not scared about it. These are the people that you need to turn to so that they can handle your big emotions when you're unable to yet. Okay. So these people, they end up showing you how to co regulate because they stay calm when you're feeling the big stuff. You're able to get calm. Okay. You start to understand what regulation feels like in the body. Then, once you have that, the next step is to start to build self esteem. You build self esteem, little bits of trust in yourself through esteemable acts. This can look as simple as getting up when your alarm goes off, as honoring your bodily needs. So when you're hungry, eating, when you're tired, resting. If you have to use the bathroom, go use the bathroom, not holding it in. You start to build trust within yourself of, I do what I say when I say I'm going to do it. I'm a reliable person. I'm safe with me. That's the goal, right? The end goal is to be able to go, I can trust me. I'm safe with me. So once you have that, you start with the co-regulation, you trust other people, then you start to do these little things. You start to trust yourself. And that is where the transformation lies because it starts to trickle down into every other area of your life. You notice it's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your work. It's going to affect your relationships with your friends, your family, with your partners and your loved ones. And before you know it, you're going to establish that interdependence that we talked about in the beginning. And this is where freedom lies. Okay. This is where you start to then learn to build your emotional capacity. Once you start to trust yourself, you start to trust your intuition, your gut feelings, you make your own decisions in healthy ways, and you start to be authentic. You figure out, what do I like? What do I want? And you go toward that in a very unafraid, unabashed way. And you become the true you. I really hope that anything I said in this video helped. If you have experience with this or you know what I'm talking about, maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, you totally disagree, let me know in the comments below. Let me know where you're at and what you're going through. And remember, I can relate. So please feel free to DM me over on Instagram at just.teal. I love getting your questions, love hearing from you and finding out where you're at. And as always, I will continue to share what I'm learning as I'm learning it so that you can heal too. So stay tuned.